list of nonsense that you are spewing out.
I'm not sure how Jonathan still comes on these shows and defends that kind of barbarism.
Slanted and biased, and I read
people
parts of your book,
down
and I know
camera.
exactly what you're
We
doing.
watched it, Jonathan.
What we're in for a long battle. I think that we're in for more fighting. The next step is indeed Iran.
No one trusts anything Jonathan's saying.
Actually, many people do trust what I and my peers say. What is it that you stand for? What do you represent? What
Human
are
rights,
the values that
dignity,
you stand for?
equality.
Shameful. It's such a nonsense talking
You should be
point.
ashamed of yourself.
The US has ordered Israel to urgently boost aid to Gaza or face having some military assistance cut off. It comes after reports that Benjamin Netanyahu was considering a surrender or starve plan to choke off aid to the north, leaving hundreds of thousands without food or water to flush out Hamas terrorists. Israeli officials have told their US counterparts they won't enact that plan. But frankly, that's what they tend to say about most of their escalations just before they happen. In the past few days, 4 Israeli soldiers were killed, 58 more badly injured in a Hezbollah drone attack. The UN, meanwhile, has condemned the large number of civilian deaths caused by Israeli strikes, including one that hit a Gazan school. With the conflict now at its most dangerous juncture, I'm joined by 2 of the most accomplished advocates for their relative position. Jonathan Conricus is a retired lieutenant colonel and international spokesman for the Israeli Defense Forces, and Mehdi Hasan is editor and CEO of Zateo News. Well, welcome to both of you. It should be a fascinating debate. I hope, unlike some of my debates on this, it doesn't descend into talking over each other and ad hominem too much, because I think you're both better than that. And I say that as a compliment, having interviewed you both multiple times. But Mehdi, let me start with you about where you feel we are now. It seems to me that where we are is that Benjamin Netanyahu, having been very unpopular with Israeli people, following the attacks on Hezbollah, the pager attacks, and then following up with the strikes on the Hezbollah leadership and so on, he's suddenly seen a massive spurt in his popularity, and that seems to have emboldened him now to potentially go for broke with Hamas, with Hezbollah, with the Houthis, and ultimately potentially with Iran directly. Is that your reading of this, and how dangerous is that as a moment for the world?
Thanks, Piers. We're in a very dangerous moment for the world. Anyone who thinks otherwise is crazy. I've spoken to Middle East experts who say they've covered the region for decades and they've never seen it boiling like it is now. We could be on the verge of a much wider regional war than Israel has already created. And yes, Benjamin Netanyahu, anyone who follows Netanyahu's career, I think is well aware of the fact that he is a self-serving cynic. He, like Donald Trump, cares about himself more than he cares about his party or his people or his country. And we all know that he's carried on this war, partly, not only, but partly, because he wants to stay out of prison himself. He wants to keep his far-right fascistic coalition together. And of course, escalating as we get closer to an American election helps him, because as even Joe Biden apparently has acknowledged in private, he's trying to get Donald Trump elected. So for Netanyahu, there's a wide variety of domestic political reasons that help him extend the war. As you say, people tend to rally around in times of war when Iranian rockets or Hezbollah rockets are dropping on Israelis. Israelis, of course, are going to rally around their government. That's only natural. That happens in every country in the world. So of course it helps Netanyahu. He's the ultimate cynic.
Jonathan Conricus, I mean, a lot of people think that. And it's hard not to deduce that that is what's driving him, not least because at the end of all this, Benjamin Netanyahu will face a moment of reckoning with the Israeli people for what happened on October the 7th, which many still blame him for in terms of a massive security failure on his watch. But also he's facing corruption charges, which have all been delayed pending resolution of the military conflicts. There's not really much incentive for him to bring any of this to an end, is there?
Yeah, never was a spokesperson for Netanyahu, and I certainly don't intend to be. And I think it's a bit flat to analyze everything happening in the Middle East only from Netanyahu's perspective and then dress everything up as if it is all related in some, mystical way, like the Elders of Zion type of thinking. I would offer, a different military way of looking at it. And when I see what Israel is doing, there's a lot of sense. For the first time in 11 months, or in a year after 11 months, Israel actually started gaining success against Hezbollah, and success leads to success. And when you succeed on the battlefield, you want to make sure that you exploit your enemy.